hamper their ability to get to classes on time. It can limit their access to resources, and it can lead to a less than ideal experience. And improving campus mobility can lead to A&M being a model for HBCUs around the country, to encourage healthy lifestyles and improve safety for students on campus. And so when we started this study, we wanted to see, okay, so what are other schools doing and what are other universities doing to improve mobility on their campuses? So we looked at Georgia State University. And with Georgia State University, the school's in Atlanta, and one of the things that their study did was they looked at cyclist behavior and and they sorted cyclists into different categories. And with this study, essentially what they said was that if you build the infrastructure, the cyclists will come.
Okay, so another school we studied was the University of Alabama, just down the road. And then what we found out is that the university kind of designed their campus to have a pedestrian priority zone where they don't vehicles don't have access to the campus, or it can only be accessed by walking and biking. And then they also have this partnership with a micro mobility company called VO, where they provide e-scooters and e-bikes for students to rent at a cheaper price to bike around the campus. They also have the Bama Camp, Bama Bikes project, where students are allowed to rent bike at $60 per semester or $30 per month or $20 per month, where they can rent this bike, and then they also have these storage facilities and bike maintenance facilities on campus that students can have access to when they get faulty bikes.
And so from there, we wanted to figure out what are our students on A&M's campus going to do, and are they interested? And so we did a survey. We did a survey last semester in which 74 students participated, and about 60% of the folks who took the survey were between the ages of 18 to 24, and about 60% of the folks who took our survey identified as women. And so we felt that is a good representative sample of the population on our campus. So one of the questions that we asked was, what is your primary way to get to campus? How are you getting to campus today? And about 60% of those respondents said they drove, which would kind of lend itself to saying, okay, there's a lot of people who are driving to campus. And so then we wanted to figure out, okay, so once you're on campus, how do you get around? And so it was reversed, and 60% of the people said they actually walked. And so with that, we understand that there is some demand for some sort of active mobility, but the campus, in the way it's designed now, does not allow for that. The next thing we wanted to figure out was, okay, do you even know how to ride a bike? And about 83.6% of folks said, yes, they knew how to ride a bike and use a scooter, and those people were proficient in those activities. And then we wanted to figure out, okay, are you interested in learning? Overwhelmingly, those responses were positive and wanted to learn how to ride. And then we also wanted to look at the likelihood of riding if there was safe cycle lanes. And about 37% said they would be very likely to want to ride if they were riding.
Okay.
And so the next thing we looked at was the status of the conditions on campus. We did some observations.
Yeah. So safety and aesthetics matter, and with this one, we asked students what would influence them to walk or bike on campus. We had a lot of options such as safety, distance, and maybe providing required resources, essential resources within walkable reach. And then upon all this, what stood out was like students were selecting like aesthetics. If the campus is looking appealing, it can influence them to walk and all of that. Though safety was the first, but we this one caught our interest because upon all the other options, aesthetics, like we are kind of trying to link it to this current generation where people always like to take pictures when they get to a good environment and all those stuff. So it's kind of now trying to influence how universities are now designing their campuses to make sure that aesthetics has an important role to influence people to work. If the university actually wants to improve active mobilities on campuses, then they should place much focuses on ensuring the aesthetics of the campus.
And so then we wanted to examine the built environment. So we went out and did a series of audits on campus to observe, okay, are there people actually riding bikes, and what is the built environment around campus? And what we noticed was there were people, they weren't using necessarily bikes, they were using scooters, active mobility devices. We did find one bike. We found this picture of a student who, because there's no bike parking in front of the library, they just chained their bike to the front of the steps. And so that's a barrier for folks to, who would consider it that the infrastructure isn't there. But when looking deeper into the status on campus, we did find some bike racks. This is in front of Knight Center, the Knight Complex. There were some bike racks that were observed. And also we observed on the main artery, which is Meridian Street that cuts through campus. There was this has been observed with speed limits of over 40 miles per hour when we were out there. So it's not necessarily a safe environment for folks who would consider it riding. And so what we recommend is to enhance the infrastructure on campus and to reimagine Meridian Street, the spine of the campus, to allow and facilitate for all modes on campus. And then we also kind of recommend that A&M become like a lab of some sorts for safe street designs.
Yeah, so when we did our observation on campus pedestrian routes, we also kind of realized that I think the University was supposed to be here, where we studied the routes that people walk most on the university campus, and then we realized that the route or the route that links the West Campus dormitories to the classrooms was the highest one with pedestrian volumes, and then the second one was the one connecting the east and the northern dormitories to the classrooms was the highest one. But however, when you look at those routes, there is no pedestrian safety infrastructure on those routes. So we were kind of proposing that those pedestrian safety or walkable lanes or biking lanes should be provided. And then another one is that when you look at the route that connects the university to the restaurants or the eating place for the students, that is the Chick-fil-A, there is actually no walking way down there. So if you are on campus and you are hungry and you want to eat, you either have to use your car, or you have to walk all the way to Drake Drive and then to Meridian Street, which is a long way. So for us to improve active mobility on campus, we're proposing that the university should kind of provide a walkable lanes there or biking lanes there that directly connects the students to the eating place, so that they wouldn't have to use their cars when they want to go to the eating place.
And then lastly, there's actually an opportunity that A&M has to work with the city of Huntsville. There's been a proposed greenway that's going to run right to A&M's campus, and it does present an opportunity for A&M to be an example for the rest of the city of Huntsville in investing in active mobility. And so I think in concluding this study, we definitely still want to, the other thing we also want to emphasize is that there needs to be a shift in the culture on campus, culture in Huntsville, and we feel that A&M could be the start of that. Thank you.